when you go into the gym and you do 3 sets of 8 on a bicep curl and 3 sets of 12 on a strict shoulder press, you win. There's nothing to compare yourself to. You did this weight for this many reps and, you got it done. When you come into the gym and you're doing, pull-ups and shouldered overhead, and there are 10 other people in the class and you got beat by some people, that makes you feel a certain way. And I think not everyone can handle that. And that comes back to the CrossFit's not for everyone, but for anyone.
Hello everyone, I'm Denise Thomas and welcome back to the CrossFit podcast. And as you know, this is where we welcome guests who dedicate their lives and their soul to making the world a fitter and healthier place. Oh, and today on the show, we have a real crowd pleaser for you, a fan favorite. Scott Panchik will be joining us. And Scott is truly, by definition, a CrossFit legend. And many of you may know him for his long-standing tenure as one of the best CrossFit athletes the sport has ever seen, averaging a 6th place finish across 10 CrossFit Games appearances. And he placed 4th in 2012, 2013 and 2019. And get this, never finished higher than 11th, which is absolutely bonkers. I mean, Scott is a monster of an athlete for sure. But if you ask him, he will tell you that he sees himself as a coach first, then athlete. And if you head over to Scott's affiliate, CrossFit Mentality, you'll see the impact that he has on his community. And it becomes crystal clear that Scott was just truly born to coach. It's incredible. So we are going to get into all of it, from how he thinks about competition from the elite level all the way through to training newbies at his gym. So without further ado, please join me, and here we go with Scott Panchik. I'm jealous of a couple of things, Scott. Your backdrop and your really fancy chair. I'm sitting on a rogue bench, so the lumbar support is me being upright. But how you doing?
I'm doing well. Just be thinking butts and guts, right?
Butts and guts, squeeze, tear the ground apart. I know.
Stay supported.
Always coaching. Thanks so much for taking this time to come on the show. I'm super excited to talk to you specifically because of your I guess not so unique anymore, but I still think you're very unique. You're unique snowflake, where you're a highly competitive athlete, but you also own a gym, and that's what I really want to get into today. Is let's break open this word competition, and what does it mean across this whole spectrum of CrossFit. I have a couple of things I want to share with you, but what is competition to you?
Competition to me is becoming a better version of yourself.
I love it.
I would keep it short and sweet in that way. And I think that is something that has evolved and changed over time. I think that that is a definition that I think everybody can hold on to, right? And I think when you step into your CrossFit gym or anything that you're working towards, I think there's a little bit of this like competitiveness inside that wants you to be the best you possibly can. And I think oftentimes we let others impact what that is, right? We compare ourselves, and I think the saying is like, comparison is the thief of joy. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's anything wrong with comparing ourselves as long as it's done in a healthy manner. And we look back at where we were and where we want to be, and we measure that, right? Just like anything else in the gym, our workouts are measurable. So how do we measure our fitness? How do we measure our weightlifting, our gymnastics, our metabolic conditioning? And we do that through benchmarks. And this gives us the ability to see how we're doing. On a higher level as a games athlete, I think it's different. It's a little different because the test isn't the same, and it changes year after year. And it took me a while to realize this, that, any given test at the CrossFit Games could really alter, who wins and who loses and what that placing looks like year after year. And I think oftentimes as the sport has grown, you see athletes showing up year after year after year. And I can look back on my career and I feel like even my last year of CrossFit, I was still fitter than every other year that I was there. And I think we can use other people as motivation, right? I think that is definitely something that is healthy, using the people around you to make you want to work harder. I've seen that in my competitors, and you've seen it in other sports. You look at when people are breaking some of the milestones in running. It's like as soon as someone does it, a bunch of people start doing it. It was like similar in our sport. Can't remember who the first person was that I saw hit a 300-pound snatch, but as soon as they did it, it was like, oh, I can do that too. And then all of a sudden you started seeing everybody doing that. And I think that it is you versus you, but in a sense, seeing others succeed, and utilizing that as, fuel and utilizing that as motivation, can oftentimes lead you to success.
Yeah. And I think, in CrossFit, we define terms. That's what we do, right? We're measurable, observable, repeatable. How do we make something better or improve upon it if we don't have a baseline? So I did a little research yesterday, and I did the old Google search of like, what is competition? And of course, there's all the definitions from different sources. And it's like anything, it's kind of confirmation bias, right? You pick the one that fits you. And a couple of ones that I found for Oxford was competition is an event in which people compete with each other to find out who's the best at something. So it just pigeonholes it a little bit too much. And it uses the word compete. So what is compete? Well, Oxford says strive to gain or win something by defeating or establishing superiority over others who are trying to do the same. What do you think about that?
I think that others needs to be kind of like you, right? I don't know. I get it. I mean, in a sense of like competing, and you look at sports, right? There has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. I mean, in a sense, at the CrossFit Games, there's one person that wins and then everyone else loses. And I think that games athletes oftentimes have that mindset. I know I did. If I didn't win the CrossFit Games, it was a loss. And that's hard. And you ask what fuels these guys that come back year after year. They're not coming to take second or third or fourth or anything but winning the whole thing. Nobody's saying I want to take fourth or 10th or 7th. They want to win the CrossFit Games. And it's bold to say that. And they know that they have to be better than everyone else. And they have to have a near perfect weekend, which is really challenging to do because we don't get to compete all that often throughout the year. I don't know how the Olympic athletes do it, where they compete every 4 years. That, blows my mind to watch someone run the 100-meter dash in 9 seconds. And and they're like everything they trained for in that small amount of time, and then it's done. So I think there has to be other things that you're trying to accomplish throughout the year than just that beating others, right? I do think that is a part of it, in a sense of like a high level athlete, someone that wants to go to the CrossFit Games. Like you do need to want to beat other people. It just is what it is. I think that is when you sign up for a sport, that's what you're signing up for. You're signing up to measure yourself against others. If you're not signing up for it and you're coming into the gym to stay healthy, then it's you versus you. But when you sign up for something, I do believe that there is something special there when you're saying, hey, you know what? I want this to be measurable in a sense of like, where am I going to place amongst all these people? It's why people sign up for the Open. And it's also why some people don't sign up for the Open, because they don't want that number and they don't want that feeling that they're going to get of where they're going to be, because maybe it's not the same as it used to be.
And if we bring it into the gym, that kind of mindset too can creep in when, and we'll get to this a little later, but it can creep in when you're asking people for their scores that day. Hey, what was your scores? And they don't want to give you their score. Like they're embarrassed or they feel disappointed. And there's just so many ways to look at competition across the spectrum of for CrossFit.
Sure. And no one wants to feel inferior to others, right? They're coming in the gym to feel lifted up and they want to feel encouraged. And, and I think in some ways, people don't want to put their scores in because it's uncomfortable. It's putting yourself out there a little bit. And it's also putting something into, a system. Like we use StreamFit, we put it in there. Now it's measurable because I put it in there. So if I do that workout again at any point, I'm going to know, am I fitter or am I not? And that's a hard pill to swallow. Mm-hmm. If a year from now I do that workout and I'm 3 minutes slower, but it's a great feeling when I do that workout a few years from now and I'm 3 minutes faster.
Yeah, and it's in CrossFit, it's uncomfortable. We do the workouts, they're uncomfortable. Nobody ever does a workout to be in the moment and be like, "Ooh, this is fun. Yay, I wish I could do more reps." It's like, no, when is this going to be over? And the same can be said for being uncomfortable when you fail, right? You don't win that day. You go in and you have this idea, I'm going to win, and you don't. And isn't that the right, the good coach being like, hey, it's okay. Not every day you PR, not every day you win. And you know what this is going to do for you? It's going to make you look at what you're doing, maybe in here, maybe outside the walls of the gym, the way you're acting, the way you're approaching your health, the things you're eating. And maybe now you make a little change because you did Fran a minute slower, mm-hmm. Versus if you go in the gym every day and you win every day, personally, I feel like that's almost like this coddled environment. Does that make sense?
Everybody gets a trophy kind of
right.
vibe. And failure is what breeds success and change. So think about it as us exhausting our muscles until failure. That is when, change will start to occur. Your muscles will start to break down, and that's where you grow the capacity to be able to become better at whatever that thing is. But failure has, like when you hear fail, pass, fail, that's not a good feeling to feel every day. There's no other better way to put it. And I think the most successful people in CrossFit are okay with failing because they know right on the other side of failure is success. Mm-hmm. And I think oftentimes people don't spend enough time seeing their progress and understanding their progress. Like someone gets their first muscle up. Well, now I want 2, or I want to be able to do them in a workout. Well, no, you just got a muscle up. You just pulled your body weight up and over a set of rings and, did a dip, and it's incredible. Like enjoy that moment. But we want more. It's just who we are as people. It's also what attracts us to this sport. And I think it's what makes people want to come back for more. So there's when they say CrossFit isn't for everyone, but it's for anyone, like I totally understand that because not everyone wants to come in here and fail, succeed, fail, succeed. And it's like, that is kind of the journey if you want to see improvement. And sometimes people come in and they don't want to fail. They want to just kind of ride that line of like doing just enough. Well, your body starts to get used to that, and your body starts to recognize like, okay, I can do this, I can do that. I'm not asking very much of my body.
And that's why the role of the coach in any sport, in any fitness endeavor is really important to shepherd that journey and educate. And I do want to get into at some point also how you do that at Mentality with your athletes based on your unique perspective from being on the main stage and what that looks like in the walls of your affiliate. But back to these definitions, because Webster's defined it as the act or process of competing, a contest between rivals. And then to compete, they said it's in a state of rivalry. And I feel like we're getting, if we take Oxford's and Webster's, we're getting a little closer to what might be, I don't want to say acceptable, but less pigeonholed. Because rivalry doesn't have to mean against somebody else. It could mean against...
It could,
right?
But it also could be against you.
Exactly. Yeah. Or, those rings. Or the clock that day. Mm-hmm. Or the feeling of vulnerability. Yeah. I'm going to go in and I'm going to kick vulnerability's ass today. I'm going to yell my score out at the end of that workout. Proud. 65 pounds, 592. There's not 92 seconds in a minute. 519. Scaled the box. Like, say it proud, you know?
For sure. And I think surrounding yourself with people that are working out and doing something similar next to you is going to push you. No matter who you are, no matter what weight's on their bar. I've done workouts as I was training for the CrossFit Games, inside classes, you know, as they're doing a workout, and it's not even maybe the same workout at all, but just having people around me lifts you up to do incredible things. And I think that's the power and the beauty of a CrossFit gym, is having people come in from all different walks of life, and they're able to come in and be on an equal playing field and push themselves. And they're all going to push themselves to a place that is, you know, uncomfortable, and hopefully will bring change. And that's the goal. I mean, you know, whether they do that each and every day is totally up to them. And like you said, for some people, just getting in the door is going to be the fight. That might be as big of a deal as hitting a new 1 rep max, is like getting in the gym 3 days a week. And for most people, that is what it is. Get in the gym. I say, get in the gym more days of the week. I always use this as an example. There's 7 days in the week. If I come in 3 and I rest 4, which one am I getting better at? Getting better resting. So I got to get in there at least 4 days a week. And like, whether I'm walking, you know, on the treadmill, or pedaling on the bike for a half hour, like, do something. You know, you talked about motivation and getting people to push themselves and be uncomfortable. And that comes from us as gym owners and coaches, investing into our members and asking them, why are you coming in here? And what do you want to accomplish? Because there has to be a reason. It has to be more than just maybe a 1 rep max. Like, there has to be something deeper to it, because what happens when you do hit that first pull up? And that, you know, that's the reason you're coming into the gym. You know, are you going to stop? Well, no, we need to have some other reasons why we're showing up to come into the gym, because those are the types of things that push us to come back, to push us to do other movements and exercises in the gym. And if I know why you're here, then we can talk about that on those days that are hard, and remind you that, hey, you have a 2-year-old that you need to be able to carry up and down the steps, or you have roles and responsibilities in your job that require you to lift people up and get them onto a bed. And when I know that, I can talk them through making smart decisions inside the gym that are going to push them and help them understand that this is your competition. Your competition is, I want you to be able to walk down the steps by the end of the year, or I want you to be able to, you know, not be so exhausted that you can't walk your kids around the amusement park.
When you describe the CrossFit, let's call it elite, right? The games, the main thing, the main stage. You mentioned showing up, logging your scores, being on a leaderboard. These are all things we do in the affiliate too. The difference is that in the affiliate, we change the mindset from competing to, I'm not trying to beat everyone in the room. I'm just trying to be a better version of myself. And you know, I always argue this. I put a stake in the ground on this one, where I say, I think when people say they're not a competitive gym, immediately they're saying, we're not going to do game style programming. We're not focused just on the act of trying to compete at a high level. We're like your everyday athlete. And, you know, I would argue that every CrossFit gym is competitive, because competition is healthy if it's done well. And I feel that at your gym, you don't, and maybe this is for you to actually talk about and me not assume, but just based on what you're saying, it feels like to me that in your gym, based on goals and measuring and putting scores on the leaderboard and having baselines, is that you do have this competition mindset when you're approaching the better version of yourself. But it's not seen in a sense of you walk in and everybody is on the way to some kind of high level competition. So even though you're not and this is why this podcast is so important, because this word competition can be really good, and it can take somebody who doesn't have confidence, who doesn't believe in themselves, and make them an athlete. have an athlete mindset. Squat to that box, heck yeah. Versus, it's okay, you can just stay a little bit higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I think what's difficult when you look at the word competition, you ask any individual, they're going to give you a different answer on what competition means to them specifically. I think you have to think and sit down and figure out what it means to you. And, you can say you're competitive or not, and there's likely reasoning behind it. There's likely something that stems that's a lot deeper, wounds, difficulties, past experiences that make you feel the way that you feel about a specific, thing like competition. And I think it's hard because like when some people hear it, they're thinking, okay, it's me being compared to others and then me winning or losing, or maybe me, versus me. And that's what's hard about it, and somebody pegs your gym as a competitive gym. Well, what does that mean? And people would have said in the past that, oh, I thought like your gym would be a very competitive gym. And what I think they meant by that is I thought your gym would be very like kind of CrossFit, like the sport oriented, where our focus is on very high level skills, clicking everyone's got to click the RX button or it's like not acceptable. And we are like far from that. And what I mean by that is we are very much like you versus you. And then on top of that, you set the goals of what you want to achieve from there. And, for me, like, yes, it is me versus me, but also I want to beat everyone every chance I can get. Like, that's just who I am. And that's why I competed at the CrossFit Games. That's why I signed up. Now, fast forward, I'm in a different stage of my life and I'm not dedicating every, waking moment to optimizing recovery and winning the CrossFit Games, which for a long time, that was a big part of my life. And I think that people thought that because it was a big part of my life, that it was something that I was pushing, my agenda and the things that I was doing on everybody that was showing up in the gym, especially with two younger brothers that went on to both go to the CrossFit Games as well. We had Fee Sagafi that has gone to the CrossFit Games. We had a teenager that went to the CrossFit Games, but they came in and they used the people that were around them to lift them up and help them strive for new goals. And those people being together, I believe, is what helped them progress enough to want to put themselves out there more and more, to get more and more competitive in the space of the sport. Now, when I have somebody that walks in like Henry, which they've, CrossFit has done a documentary on him and shared a lot of his story. Henry was a guy that came in and he could barely walk in the door. He could barely squat to a 24-inch box and stand up.
This guy?
Yeah, that's my buddy Henry. And
Hey.
CrossFit absolutely changed his life. And he returned to climbing ladders and working every day, along with getting off of blood pressure medication, and all his biomarkers are up. Now, that's a guy that is in here. And for the longest time, he was on a PVC pipe and he was doing ring rows. And that was challenging for him, just like me giving, my brothers a 225-pound barbell and having them do a workout. And I think that's, when people think of competing, yes, the sport of CrossFit is very competitive and there is a winner and there is a loser, unfortunately, like that. But then you look at someone like Henry, like he is winning right now. He's winning life. And, that is competition, you versus you. So, I guess my answer now when someone says, are you a competitive gym? I guess I would say yes, like in a lot of different ways. We compete in here, you versus you. And if you want to go and sign up for the CrossFit Games, you want to sign up for your first open, you want to sign up for a weekend competition, we're here to support you. We're going to show up, we're going to cheer our faces off, and we're going to help you every inch of the way. You come in here and you want to change your life, be able to return to work, go up and down stairs and have, the freedom that fitness can bring and the health that you strive for in this world, to just be happy and to live your life. Like we say it all the time, your health is your wealth and your fitness is your freedom. And I think that we do that here in the gym each and every day. We give people the tools that they need to be successful and to walk out the door and to do that. And we also have the tools to take our athletes to the next level.
You just fired me up so much when you said, talking about Henry, then you were like, so maybe we are a competitive gym. And I'm like, heck yeah, Scott, we are. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
For sure.
It's a dream. Like, imagine a world where people just proudly state, I compete in the sport of CrossFit. Right? And this is every member of your gym. And, you know, there are levels, but if we don't compete, we're leaving a lot of results on the table. Again, health markers or improving your work capacity. But it's up to us to educate people on what that is. And I'm just interested in how you do that at CrossFit Mentality. Like, how do you get people on board to have this feeling, to want to write their goals on the board, to want to log their scores? Is it a conscious thing? Like, what does that look like?
Well, I think one of the most important things to touch on, and maybe this is why everyone is a little apprehensive about saying that they're a competitive gym, is that every person that walks into your gym and starts may not be competitive yet. And I think that can be oftentimes scary. If somebody calls you up and you're like, yeah, we're a competitive gym, we're going to get after it. You're going to challenge, and you start going on a rampage of like why you're a competitive gym. And and some people might respond really well to that and be pumped up and motivated. And others might be like, I can't get out of here fast enough. So I think that is why people are a bit apprehensive about using the word competitive. And I think until I sat down and with this podcast and really thought about that, people don't always come into a gym for that reason. And oftentimes what we hear is, I need to be a little fitter before I start CrossFit. Like, I hear this all the time. I need to just get out there and, kind of prime things up a bit before I get in there and start doing something. I'm like, no, like, that is our job. That's why, like, that's my jam. Get in here and let me show you how to onboard to set you up to be successful, and helping people understand that you are not the person that you were 5-10 years ago when you were playing sports. And this is going to challenge you in new ways. And part of our onboarding series is we take people through 3 on-ramps. I think it's the most important sessions that any gym can offer. And I personally do our on-ramps 90% of the time. If I'm not available, I'll have somebody take it. But I want to be the person that gets to be the representation of who we are at CrossFit Mentality. And this gives me an opportunity to give them a lay of the land and help them understand why they're here and understand what they want to accomplish. And then also working together to come up with some measurable goals to put on the board. And that's kind of the first intro to them being, I'm going to say it, competitive. Is they have to understand that
you can say it. It's okay.
Competing against themselves. But if I walked in and I said, hey, and I start talking to them about being competitive and scores and the leaderboard and clicking the RX button, and I try to explain to them like, hey, you get through the first 3 months, this will change your life. That's for 90% of the people that come in here. I'm like, get in here, do it 3 to 4 days a week for 3 months straight. Keep it light, keep it something that makes your body feel good the next day. And let's get a great foundation of you moving well, understanding the movements, kind of building up what I'd consider your CrossFit IQ, knowing what, the assault bike can do to you, what burpees and thrusters can do to you. And then from there, we can start increasing weight and skills and difficulty. But I don't think people recognize that right away. And they maybe think they're fitter than they are, or they haven't quite been pushed in a way that gets them that uncomfortable. And the first 3 months is kind of the indicator on whether someone's going to stay or not. And I believe, I don't have a statistic here, but I would be interested to know the people that stayed 3 months and how many of them are still, here at our gym.
Yeah, you should do a little analysis. I think that's
It's a
huge.
deep dive, yeah.
Yeah, they say that, if you keep them for 90 days, they'll stay forever, unless they have to move. And it's this, what you just said was really cool about those first 3 sessions being some of the most important they'll have, because you represent what CrossFit is to this person and how you talk about it. And you said that, if somebody came in and you started just throwing around the words like compete and leaderboard and RX, and we compete, blah, 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 that would not be for them. And it wouldn't be for me either. I like throwing down. I like trying to chase people, but competing gives me like anxiety. I'm like, I want to come in and train, man. I get it. But what you did in your onboarding with the conversation you have, you are subliminally talking about competition without saying competition. Mm-hmm. You're saying things like, hey, we have baselines and we put scores on the board and our results are logged by the time it takes us to do things. And then over time, you could honestly go through your entire CrossFit affiliate ownership, never say the word competition once.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think when you have the opportunity to lay the foundation in each one of those members, you get to kind of help be the gatekeeper to them coming and having a really great experience. And we try to talk to our other members that maybe have just joined or been there a while with the new members and allowing them to share insight of how they felt when they first started. And I remember that workout because they did the same onboarding as the person's going through right there. So we have a really incredible community in that way where you see them just lifting one another up and talking. And I have some people in here that I lean into that I would consider mentors in the gym, that I'll just say, hey, go over, introduce yourself, and just talk to them a little bit about what it was like when you started and how hard it was and the difficulty. But what that change was like, and when you notice that change, and typically it's right around that 3-month mark again.
And if we handle these new people with care, you really do yourself a service, because now that's the culture of your gym. And the fact that you do all your onboarding whenever you can shows how much you care about that message being delivered the way that you want people to understand the culture of CrossFit mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes as a gym owner, it's easy to want to push what you want onto your members, rather than taking time and taking a step back and trying to create something for the masses that may incorporate some things that you don't do yourself. And what I mean by that is, like, I might have I'll give my dad as a perfect example. He helped me open the gym back in 2013, and he's in his late 60s now, and he's not doing muscle ups, right? It's just not in the cards for him. But that doesn't mean that if I handed the keys to the kingdom over to him to write the programming, that he doesn't incorporate a muscle up at some point, because it's not something that he feels is valuable to him at 69 years old. But how do we create something that is valuable to someone of that age, that mimics that movement? And I think that's really important. I think when it comes to retention, it's creating a program that is challenging amongst all levels and gives something for people to aspire to do. And for my dad, it might be a get over of, a 40-inch box. Like we do burpee box get overs on jerk blocks that are 40 inches high. and having him climb up and over that. Be like him climbing up and over a fence. At 69 years old, could he have to climb up and over a fence? Maybe, maybe. And, does my dad need to be able to run miles? No, but he might need to do a quick shuttle run to grab my son because he's walking out onto the road. And I think that CrossFit is beautiful in that way because it allows us to have that feeling of being able to accomplish something that maybe we've never done.
No, really well said. And Henry, I watched the video multiple times that we did with you on CrossFit. It was so great. And you said how, you're a really great games competitor, but you're an even better coach, and like that's your jam, right? That's what you do. And then you got Henry, and you said to Henry, if you stick around here long enough, you probably won't need knee replacements. And he said, and the man was right. And I don't know if Henry does need knee replacements now or not, but just that will and that challenge and that competitiveness in him to find a depth in his squat he never had before, and for someone to really believe in him. And he said on the video that you said to him that he's an inspiration to you. And he couldn't believe it because he's like, me to you? He's like, look, you're Scott Panchik. Like, you're the man. You're the games guy. You're like, the one. How am I inspiring you? And he said, and it took him years to finally understand what that meant, and that he just understood it now. And I thought that was really cool. And so there's this idea and conversation about healthy versus unhealthy attitudes towards competition. In your experience, what does that look like at both the games level and the affiliate level?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an unhealthy side of competing in any sense. And I think it's when it starts consuming your day and your thoughts, and you start holding on to moments that maybe happened inside of the gym, and they impact other moments in your day and in your life. I think that's when it starts to become a little unhealthy. I've definitely at times found myself thinking about workouts and thinking about how I could have did better on this or that in the gym that day. And I'm sitting, at a dinner with friends, and I realize like, man, I'm like, should have did 4 rounds instead of 3 rounds, or, I wish I would have hit that lift earlier today. And that, I think, is when it starts to get a little bit unhealthy. And that, you're trying to be better than less than 1% in the world at that point. And I think that that's going to come with it a little bit. And I also think of like the word resiliency, right? Resiliency is being able to come back the next day and being able to like kind of get back to work and having short-term memory and not weighing on, or not letting something weigh on you from the day before. And I think the best athletes in the world are people that can let go of that very quickly. And I think sometimes that can happen also in the gym, where people are starting to allow themselves to just carry on through their day, without a care in the world of like where they were on the leaderboard or what their time was. And then there are people that are very much like on the leaderboard. So-and-so did this weight, they RX'd it, they got this many rounds, and it bothers them and they're upset and they probably cheated or they weren't getting deep enough in their squats. And I think if you're that person, you're at an unhealthy place as well. So
how do you
I think having
that?
a good, go ahead.
Sorry, I interrupt. How do you handle that situation? Have you had examples of where somebody is really motivated by their scoreboard or, their prescription, and you can see that they're going down this spiral that maybe doesn't align with the culture at Mentality, and how do you really, how do you manage that? How do you give them therapy on that? Have you lost people because of this? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people that I think have left CrossFit, not just from my gym, but from gyms around the world, that just were not able to handle not being successful in the gym every day. And when you go into the gym and you do 3 sets of 8 on a bicep curl and 3 sets of 12 on a strict shoulder press, you win. There's nothing to compare yourself to. You did this weight for this many reps and, you got it done. When you come into the gym and you're doing, pull-ups and shouldered overhead and there are, 10 other people in the class, and you got beat by some people that makes you feel a certain way. And I think not everyone can handle that. And that comes back to the CrossFit's not for everyone, but for anyone. Like, you have to have a little bit of you that inside, like, wants to get after it, like wants to put themselves out there. And I think a little bit of this is like happening in our world right now, where a lot of people are afraid to have hard conversations. And I think that people are afraid to do hard things. When you put yourself out there, it's scary. It's difficult. It's not something people want to do. They don't want to feel failure. They don't want to not succeed. But when you start to realize the successful things that can come from that, you start to get outside of that lane a little bit, and you start to open up and see things from a bigger picture, and understanding, wow, like, I might not be the fittest guy in my gym, but I'm the fittest guy at work. Like, there's not one guy that can carry, this up a set of stairs for, hours on end like me. And you start to see, like, maybe at home, like you're playing with your kids and you're out running your 15-year-old, and they're like, man, Dad, you're fast. Like, then all of a sudden you start to see these little victories along the way. And I think if you search for those little victories outside of the gym, it will set you up to be in a better mindset inside of the gym, where you start to look at the people around you, not as competition, but as people that are pushing you to become a better version of yourself. And I saw that with my training with my brothers. At a point, they were able to beat me in a workout, and I did not like that. It was not a good feeling. It made me not want to train with them. But I can tell you this, it made me a better athlete. It made me want to show up every day and get after it. And I truly believe it was a big part of me continuing to be successful in the sport, is having some young gunners around me that are, want to take my lunch money. And I'm like, no, you're not yet. I'm not ready to
Maybe
give it
soon,
up yet.
but not right now.
But if I came in feeling sorry for myself, it very well could happen. But then you look at the outcome of, a family in the sport like ours. And, you have 3 of us that have been to the CrossFit Games. And you can ask my dad. He's seen plenty of heated moments in the gym where things weren't going well. And if people looked at that from the outside, they'd be like, man, these guys are crazy. And
they
like,
don't even
I would want to do that. Yeah. I don't know if they like each other in that moment. If you were looking in the window, you definitely wouldn't think so at times. But then you go to the CrossFit Games and you're standing at the finish line with them, and it's a great feeling. And like, for us, it's the CrossFit Games, but for others, it might be the backyard. It might be, work. You name the place, and it could be somewhere outside of here that you're going to see all that success.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got really mesmerized by your brotherly rivalry, because you said there's things that you don't want to do. It's uncomfortable, but when you do them, you grow, and your brothers beat you, and you don't want to train with them. You feel weak and vulnerable. And man, what a great lesson for your membership, that you can, there's always a great time at the end of class to kind of educate them on a little life lesson or a little bit of the methodology or whatever it is you want them to leave with that day. And
I mean, I never felt weak and vulnerable. I just want you to know. No.
Spencer Saxon, your brother, said you
never felt weak and vulnerable. He did want to make sure that you never took his lunch money.
I stand corrected. They're just like fist bumping hearing this. But do you have opportunities to share these experiences with them so that you can educate them on the healthy aspect of competition and what unhealthy looks like? And don't be confused by the two, because being maybe afraid to do something isn't unhealthy. That we don't stop competing every day and challenging ourselves just because of how it makes us feel. Do you have opportunities to educate them on that outside of the onboarding?
Yeah, I mean, our coaches, I try to instill in them kind of like some words of wisdom to give after class. And those are things that they're learning and that they've learned along the way, whether it been in their first year doing CrossFit or their 10th year doing CrossFit. I think there's wisdom that can always be shared across the board from the feelings that workouts. I always say that workout hurt your feelings because it hurt my feelings.
There's no crying in CrossFit.
Yeah, there is for sure. There's definitely
there's
crying
a lot
in
of crying in
CrossFit.
CrossFit.
It's more inside than outside.
Yeah.
It comes out through your pores. It's not
does.
sweat, it's tears.
It comes out under your shame belt. Just pop
yes.
Pop that under.
But I've learned a lot of things. There have been times where I felt consumed by CrossFit, and there are times that I've had to like dial back a little bit. And I've shared those things with my brothers and my training partners. And it's one of the reasons I love the sport and continue to do it. I'm going to push my body to do whatever it can do. And share the things that I've learned along the way so that other people maybe aren't overtraining. And I can give examples of that and say, hey, I've hurt my shoulder, not taking rest days. Cause I see that one guy in the gym that's like working out every day and he's working out 2 times a day, and Thursdays he's in doing these long sessions. I'm like, hey, I was that guy in 2021 and I ran it until the wheels fell off, and they did. So it's being able to take those experiences, and the feelings that you get, when you're having a hard training day and you're feeling beat down and worn out, and you shouldn't feel that way all the time. Like, it's okay to feel a little beat up every now and again, but I tell people all the time, this should not prevent you from doing life outside of the gym. If it is, then we really need to sit down and take a hard look at what you're doing every day, what weights you're using, and how we can change things so that this is something that is allowing you to be successful outside of the gym and you feel energized and excited. And it's the fun thing that you get to do. And I've always tried to keep that in my mind. I think it's a big reason why I wanted to run a gym alongside pursuing being an athlete, because if I was pursuing just being an athlete, I think that I would have had to carry a lot more stress, and it would have been way more difficult to do it by myself. And I don't think I would have did it nearly as long, because I would have felt like at some point that it was my full-time job. And don't get me wrong, I put in full-time hours doing it, but it was not, Scott Panchik was not known for just being an athlete. And I think sometimes when we define ourselves as a CrossFitter and not looking at all the other aspects of why we do CrossFit, oftentimes we can get lost, and sometimes we need others to kind of pull us up and out of that.
I think I like what you said way earlier in this chat when you said it started to affect you outside of the gym when you were with your family. And I think that's a really great way to look at it. Is this thing, it's the sport of fitness. It's an exercise program. It's going to change your life. It takes time, consistency. But when it starts to consume you and it's all you do, we're not saying that that's bad or wrong. That could be your jam. It could be your thing. But likely 9 times out of 10, you could be heading down a more unhealthy relationship with CrossFit. And just to be aware of that, I think that's a really great takeaway.
At times, and this is not just at a high level, as a high level athlete, I think all of us find ourselves maybe hanging on to a workout or a moment or some difficulty, and it's doing it over and over and over and not recognizing that you're doing it, and then you're done. Like, you just don't want to do it anymore. It's okay to be upset about it. It's not okay to be upset 365 days of the year and be walking around miserable doing something that you say you love, and it's impacting your day and your mood and the way you feel each and every day.
Right.
So it's like, I think when you start to see the signs that you're like thinking a little bit more about that than maybe your friendships and your work and some of the other things that are going on in your life, that's when you got to figure out, okay, I got to dial something back. I got to change something small so that I can continue to do this. And I think if you can catch it early on and figure out why it is that you're feeling that way, it could be the best thing for you.
Yeah, awesome stuff. We all compete in the sport of fitness. And I think just understanding what those things mean is important. You're an affiliate member or affiliate athlete, you're a games athlete, we're all competing in the sport of fitness. And it's a beautiful thing, and I'm really thankful that I had this time to spend with you. I learned a lot, and I wish I lived in Ohio. and I would join your gym in a heartbeat.
Well, if you're ever in Ohio, you got a place to train.
I would love to come. But Scott, we're going to wrap up. I just want to ask if there's anything you want to finish with, and where can people maybe get a hold of you if you would like them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at Scott Panchik on Instagram, and yeah, always available to chat and talk more about CrossFit.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for everything you've done in the community, and I'm excited to see what cool things you're going to do down the line. Well, everyone, that was Scott. And if you want to learn more about Scott, check out CrossFit Mentality in Ohio. And if you can't get to Ohio, maybe just drop a follow on his Instagram. But Scott, thank you. Thanks for taking the time. You rock. All right, now, we got to get to represent the community. And we're going to do that with some kick-ass human beings. So this week, our shout out goes to Andrew Rape and his entire community at CrossFit Trussville in Alabama. See, Andrew and his gym, they experienced something that nobody would ever want to experience. And it happened last year, one day in May. Andrew got a call that his gym was on fire. Yes, like on fire. And no one was inside and no one got hurt, but the fire pretty much destroyed everything and the gym was a complete loss. Now, a lot of people, they might have said, you know what, I got to focus on me. I'm going to take a beat. I'm going to close down the gym and we're going to take some time. But not Andrew. Andrew quickly got connected with a local church and was able to start teaching classes immediately. I mean, they literally did not miss a single class. And Andrew credits it all to the community. He says he could not have made all this happen without them, and in 16 hours nonetheless. Andrew wants to send gratitude out to his wife Candace, his gym manager Sophia, the pastor who helped him rebuild, and all of the members of his CrossFit Trussville community. Told you, kick-ass group of people. Well, Andrew, we're grateful to you because people don't tend to rally around people unless the people are awesome, and you're awesome. And so with that, CrossFit wants to offer you a level 1 or level 2 course of your choice. Have fun there. And our partner this week, Tupood, is offering Andrew some gear for his gym. Now, listeners, pay attention because somebody wrote in, they told us about Andrew and what a rock star he is. And you can do the same for someone that you know and you love and someone that you think deserves to be highlighted for their service. So please, please let us know through the link in the show notes. And lastly, if you like the show, and we really hope you do, don't forget to rate and review us on your podcast app. It really helps elevate the show and get it out to people. And there are people out there that really need to hear these messages. And that's it. That's all we got this week. So please join us again next week for another episode of the CrossFit Podcast. Love you guys. Mwah.